Добрий день всім, з вами
Hello everyone, it is Olga Tamanova. Welcome at Ukraine Forum, Ukraine Media Center. It is 111th day since the start of full-scale invasion by the Russian Federation, and today we are going to have the following event. At 12:30 we will have Katerina Levchenko, Government Commissioner for Gender Policy. We are going to discuss the ratification of Istanbul Convention and the consequences of it for Ukraine. At 1:30 we will have Damien Magru, the spokesperson for the International Legion for the defense of Ukraine. We will discuss the role of this legion in the Russo-Ukrainian war. And right now we have with us Valeria, Kolomiets, the Deputy Minister of Justice, who will discuss the ban for pro-Russian parties. Thank you so much. As you're well aware, in March this year, the decision was made by the National Security and Defense Council to put on hold the activity of 11 pro-Russian parties. Also, the Council has tasked the Ministry of Justice to create conditions for the legal ban of this party, and also at the same time the draft law was developed detailing the details and consequences of the ban of this party. So once this draft was passed and it came into force on the 18th of May, the Ministry of Justice has submitted 11 cases to court, out of which we already got 10 positive decisions. So the activity of 10 so-called pro-Russian parties has already been banned, and also the courts decided to confiscate all the property of these parties. And also on the 23rd of June, there will be a court hearing on the 11th party, and we hope that the court will take the same decision as in the previous 10 cases. So we are right now developing the regulations for taking over the property of the parties, and also at the same time a draft was registered in Verkhovna Rada describing what's going to happen with the local representatives of the banned parties in the regional governments. Right now, in total, there are 17 cases initiated by the Ministry of Justice concerning the banning of the parties. 11 of them are implementing the decision of the National Security and Defense Council. Other cases are concerning the support of the occupiers, and there is one case where there is a difference in the names of the parties. I mean the party Rrohibiting. Its regional representative offices are named the party of the Putin's politics. So we've been dealing with this case for a year already, and since a law has been passed to expedite the procedure of banning the political parties, we have already received 11 positive cases, 10 of them concerning the decision of the National Security and Defense Council, and the remaining 6 will be considered in the next month. So we know that there is a big percentage of pro-Russian parties at the local and regional levels. Is there a mechanism developed that will enable the continuation of work of regional governments? So there will be no paralysis of work on the local levels because once again, in the existing legislation, the members of national parliament who are the members of banned parties are going to join the groups of councillors and parliament members. So basically people will remain, but they will function under a different name. They will have no opportunity to act as a party. They will not have property as a political party. They will not have access to the tools available to the political party in case they are going to register a new political party. We will sue this attempt as well, because well the basis of banning the 11 parties that were initiated by the National Security and Defense Council is the position of those parties. For instance, introducing the Russian language as Ukraine's official language, or some views against the territorial integrity of Ukraine. There are criminal cases concerning that. And for instance, against the leaders of certain parties, such as the opposition party and Mr. Medvedchuk, there are criminal allegations. And if a person simply registers a new political party and continues doing the same under the new name, we will be using the same mechanism to ban their activity. And the most important mechanism here is the criminal responsibility for the leaders of those parties. So the activity of Ministry of Justice that has to do with banning political parties is one of the elements that have to do with ensuring national security on the political level. And so our cooperation and the initiatives of the National Security Service and the decisions of National Security and Defense Council, all of this goes in line. So we understand that such interventions are going to happen. We know that some parties are already launching the process of establishing new parties. How long will this continue? Well, we have to understand that we are almost a member, we are almost a candidate for the EU membership. So freedom, of course, is an important element in this, but we are also in a situation when security is essential, because it's essential for our survival, because the occupiers have taken a big share of the political arena, and we have to act in spirit of the supremacy of law and respect to people's right to express their political views. Therefore, a law was passed describing what exactly is meant by the anti-Ukrainian activity and the danger for territorial integrity, and in case a party is involved in that, it will be banned. So technically, there is a possibility to register a new political party or to buy an existing political party, let's put it bluntly, but we are going to ban those parties as well, following all the requirements of the law. And I hope that this will be happening faster, and the prosecution against those leaders will be happening faster to prevent them from their illegal political activity. Thank you. I'm Irina Ododenko from Ukraine Forum. I have two questions. The first one, have there been any appeals against those court rulings? If yes, what were they? Actually, no. The first court ruling took place 2 weeks ago, and out of the 10 parties that were banned according to the National Security and Defense Council, out of them we only have one party with the full text of the court ruling published. So right now we do not have such cases, but of course there are 20 days available, and I believe that the majority will use this right of appeal. And the second question is about the transition of property of the parties. Thank you. So, as I have mentioned, we are developing the regulation because it was tasked for us to do this within 2 months, and we are at the stage of developing this procedure of search for the property of the party, which means that we have to discover all the bank accounts of the party and its regional branches. We also have to find out about all the property of the party. Well, we have registers, so it's quite simple, but also there is corporate property, there are other property rights as well, and for this we have to contact other government agencies and institutions. So then we have to arrest this property for the political parties not to be able to sell, transfer, or reuse the property. So for these 11 parties, we have already did this. The bank accounts were arrested as well the moment we sued them. And also following the procedure that we are right now developing, we will have the list of government agencies that will be managing the property. So for instance, the land will be managed by one agency, the premises, the apartments, houses, buildings, this will be managed by the state property fund, and the money from the bank accounts will go directly to the government budget. So once we fully develop the procedure, we are going to publish it and describe the procedure in detail for people to understand how much money was obtained from each of the political parties. Thank you. Other questions?
Romania. Were there members of the parliament from these 11 parties, and how many? This is my first question. And the second, which were the criteria to decide if a party is pro-Russian or anti-Ukrainian, let's say, and in courts, how they defended themselves? It was enough to say, look, I'm not pro-Russian. I was just misunderstood in some statements or something. How they tried to defend themselves in the court, if you have some details about this.
Thank you so much. So I will answer in Ukrainian as well. We have in the parliament only one of those parties represented. It is called OPZG. Unfortunately, I do not know the number of members of parliament from this party. And speaking of the criteria for the pro-Russian parties, first of all, I'd like to emphasize that we are using the term pro-Russian for this to be understandable for general public, but this of course requires additional explanation. In the law on political parties, there was a list of conditions in which we could political parties with the intention to ban them. Such conditions included, for instance, the fact that a political party was inciting ethnic hatred, or was acting against territorial integrity of Ukraine, or was speaking publicly with disrespectful attitude to territorial sovereignty, territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, implying that we could join some illegal political unions and surrender our lands, collaborate with the country with which we have war for 9 years already, and after the National Security and Defense Council made their decision, the list of parties was developed, the parties that present danger for the territorial integrity of Ukraine. So these are the parties justifying the military aggression of the territory of Ukraine. These are the parties calling upon collaboration with the occupational governments. So if we look at this one court ruling that is available in full text, the reasons in that case was that there were public calls to the residents of the occupied territories to collaborate with the occupational governments. So when the invaders' army arrive, the representatives of this party are telling people, okay, you have to collaborate, okay, let's have a referendum, okay, let's do other kinds of activity, and basically they are justifying the actions of the inhumane activities of the occupiers, and basically the members and leaders of this party have the intention of acting against territorial integrity of Ukraine. One more aspect is the glorification of this activity, and here it's an important element as well, because we know that in Russian there is this term like victory madness, and when these ideas are being imposed on Ukrainians by these political leaders, they work against the objective representation of history of Ukraine and Europe in general, with the intention to justify the inhumane activities of the Russian troops. We need to understand that these actions are working against the independence of Ukraine and pose danger to the lives of our citizens. So it is clearly defined what kinds of activities pose danger and represent collaboration with the occupier, with the Russian Federation. And the third component of your question was how they can justify themselves. So the criteria they use are as follows. In one case, they simply did not present themselves in the court. So, for instance, the opposition bloc is an old party which basically is the progeny of the Party of Regions. So the party is technically dead. So in this case, they are not protecting themselves so far. But there are also, for instance, progressive socialists who are more active, and they appealed the court ruling. They have written a letter describing their position. And so how do they explain themselves? Well, we know that opposition, for instance, is publicly claiming that since the very beginning they were supporting the idea of the European Union, that they support the idea of human rights just in any other Ukrainian citizen, but we also understand that the actual activity of these parties is quite different from these statements. So those parties that are active will surely appeal against the court rulings, against banning their activity, but also we have provided, together with the security service of Ukraine, all the evidence showing that these parties were actually involved in those anti-Ukrainian activities, that they were actually collaborating with the Russian Federation for many years. So no matter what statements they can make right now, this is not enough just to cover all the evidence that exists against them. Thank you so much. This was Valeria Kolomiets, the Deputy Minister of Justice of Ukraine. Please stay